generations of sweaty living underground in a fresh vault. In fact, we put a family in a vault for 10 years and let them out just to see how it would go. And here they are now. We loved it. We loved it. That was great. I'm making it up. I'm making that up. I'm imagining what could happen if I had more information about the vaults, but I don't have that information, so I'm making it up. Vault-Tec vaults, yes. Say yes to the tech.
Right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope you enjoyed the lore video that I published this morning. At this time of the morning on a Saturday, I'm usually sound asleep, lost in my lovely slumber, recovering from a long night, staying up and doing voice acting and animating and, making my lore video, right? But Amazon Prime... Well, they went and did this. If I can show you really quickly. Amazon Prime went and did that. Yeah, that's that's going to be in 10 minutes. In 10 minutes or so, no, actually about in 25 minutes or so, Amazon Prime is going to have a live stream here on YouTube, and I have no idea what's going to happen. None. So go ahead and you can watch them on the Prime Video YouTube channel if you want. There are already 1,500 people waiting for that broadcast to go live, or you're welcome to stay here in the chat with me. My plan is to cover their broadcast live. I don't think I'll have a lot of commentary during whatever their broadcast is. I'm thinking it's a trailer. It's probably a trailer for the TV show that's going to drop. No idea how long it's going to be. Maybe it'll be a couple minutes long. Maybe it'll be 5 minutes long. I'm guessing it's a trailer. Anyway, we can. I plan to just watch it, and then we can respond to it and talk about it live on camera. I'm not turning this into like a 4-hour broadcast. After this, I'm going back to bed because I'm tired. But, yeah, we can at least cover it live. Pardon me, in the meantime, they've got something weird going on on the Fallout TV show page. It's called A Special Live Report from Galaxy News Radio.
I'm looking at you! You don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. You idiot! I can't even get the word. I can't even get the information from you. Worthless! Ugh. It's just me and Arnie here. I'm in hell. He's sitting there smiling at me. I'm in absolute hell. Do you have a spot, Arnie? You have a spot in the vault?
It's called Live from the Vault, and you can see there's a countdown timer in the left-hand corner, which is counting down to exactly the same time as the other video that's currently waiting to go live on Amazon Prime. So this is where everyone is waiting until that show goes live. I'm guessing the story behind this is there's like a radio host in the Vault 33. But honestly, I didn't realize they were doing this, and I stumbled upon it late. And I don't understand the story. So we won't be following that, but we will be diving right to the show when it goes live. Good to see everybody on YouTube today. Avid Baker. Thank you so much, Avid Baker. Became a Silver Ox. Adrian Parker says, good morning, Ox. Hope all is well. Great video this morning as well. Thank you. Had a lot of fun with that. Operation Ticonderoga is what we covered this morning. Josh Bunton became a Silver Ox. Thank you, Josh Bunton. Avid Baker says, happy 9 months. I hope everyone is having an excellent Saturday. Happy 9 months. Avid Baker's been a member for 9 months and a Silver Ox. Thank you, Avid Baker. I'm having a great Saturday, even though I wish I was still in bed. But I've got my coffee and I'm feeling good. Ashamed Spork says, good morning, Ox. Loving the surprise live. Hope you got your coffee. I do. I am ready with my coffee. Nick Barnhouse says, good morning, Ox, and all in chat this morning. And so glad you got up early to stream. I figured if I was going to get up early to watch this, well, I figured we might as well all get up early and watch this. If I'm going to be stuck watching this, you guys can join me. How about that? Robert C. Zerma says, congrats on the views for the last Fallout show vid. Yeah, that turned out really well. People were really interested to hear my thoughts on that. I think mainly because I don't do that kind of thing a lot. I don't comment on every little thing that comes out about the TV show. And it was the same with Fallout 76. I didn't comment on every little bit of news. I waited until something official came out, and then I decided to comment on it. Good to see everybody on Twitch today. Dusk the Wolf Dragon says, good morning, Ox. Good morning, Ox. Good morning, Dusk the Wolf Dragon. Shograth says, morning, Ox. I got to watch the most recent video. I know. You've got time. This thing starts in 10 minutes and 11 seconds. Gorath says, I need coffee. Well, I can understand. I've got my own coffee. It's definitely helping. Shiograth says, I'm still concerned about the assault rifle. I mean, I can understand, especially when we can all expect perfection from a multi-million-dollar television show. However, it's not that big of a deal for me. I mean, the assault rifle still looked good. He's talking about the assault rifle that was being held by the soldier wearing the T-60 suit of power armor in one of the photographs that was released a few days ago. I think it still looked really good. I don't know if it was completely lore accurate, but just the style of the weapons, as long as they're still within the atom punk and, retro vibe of the Fallout universe, that's all I care about. Are they carbon copies of the games, of the weapons in the game? I wish they would be, but it's not going to bother me that much. The cars bother me much more than the guns. Dylan Stanley says, super busy running my business. Happy to catch this stream live. Can't wait for the show. Thank you, Dylan Stanley. I'm eager for it too. We got a few minutes. Let's see what's going on at Vault-Tec Radio. All right, not much. Looks like they're in a radio break right now. There's a news ticker at the bottom of the screen. Nuka World to raise ticket prices for upcoming season, expecting an explosive year. Oh, and they just had to put the word explosive in quotes, too. Gwyneth announces new pale ale. It's going to drive me crazy just sitting there waiting for all this text to fly by the screen. My plushie is out and available for purchase. I don't know if you can see it in the chat. In the back end here on YouTube, I did pin it to the chat, but there it is. The plushie is available for sale. It's synced with YouTube. You can find a link to it in the chat of this live stream, or you could go to my YouTube homepage, click on the shopping tab, and you should find this at the very, very top. Or just go to my Twitter feed, and I pinned a link to it at the very top of my Twitter feed. This is the prototype. The finished version has a few changes that I made. The finished version has suspenders that are actually sewn down to the shirt to make them a little bit more less likely to rip. I changed the shape of the cigar. This looks kind of like just a cinnamon stick, really. I asked them to make the cigar a little bit more torpedo-shaped, and then I put some ash and maybe a little bit of fire at the foot of the cigar, and that's really all the changes I made. So the plushie is available for pre-order. I had hoped, I didn't realize that it was going to take them that long to produce them. They're going to wait until they sell 300 units before they produce them, and that's going to be end of March. End of March or April, which I realize is a really, really long time. But apparently I'm led to believe that's a standard thing when it comes to custom-made, one-of-a-kind collectibles like this. So I know that I've had to wait a really long time when working with gaming heads to get some of the stuff that I've ordered from them. So that's the way it is. It's available for pre-order now. It's not going to arrive. They're not going to ship it until the beginning of April, end of March. That's the way it's going to go. But it's going to be worth it. Look at this guy. He looks great. I'm so excited. And he can be yours. Linked in the chat. Flower Power says, hi, Ox in chat. Hope you're well. What's happening? Looks exciting. I don't know what's happening. In 6 minutes, the Amazon Prime YouTube channel is going to have some information. And I don't know what that information is. We'll discover it all together. Irvin Chadwick says, hello, Oxhorn. I think the thing that bothers me the most is the Megaton clone in California. Yeah, that really bothered me as well. I don't mind that they have another Scrap City in California. Of course they're going to have a Scrap City in California. Junktown was a Scrap City on the West Coast. But having a Scrap City that looks exactly like Megaton? Why? We already have Megaton. I don't know why they would do that. Just for the nostalgia factor, maybe? Christoph Bognar became a Silver Ox. Thank you, Christoph Bognar. John Bristol says, I hope they don't inject politics into the show by commenting on hot-button social issues. 76 and Starfield pandered a bit, but hopefully this won't. 76 had a few moments where they talked about hot-button issues. Starfield? I don't recall Starfield covering politics. I mean, obviously it covered Starfield politics, but I don't recall. I could be wrong. Maybe you can let me know if there were any moments, but I don't recall any. Derek May says, good morning, Ox. I know the cars bothered you, but does it bother you that Todd Howard is a producer? Because he didn't do anything before with the East. It doesn't bother me that Todd Howard is a producer. If anything, it's probably a really good thing that they're working as closely with the directors and producers of the Fallout, the recent Fallout games, as they are. If there weren't anyone from Bethesda on the team who worked on the TV show, that would concern me more. So the fact that Todd Howard is there is pretty good. Alicia C. says, if this show breaks my heart like the Resident Evil one, I don't know what I'm going to do. Well, you know what? At the end of the day, we're all going to be okay. We've all got the games, and the games aren't going anywhere. We've all got the games. Let's take a listen to our guy here.
The flag is planted, Arnie. I don't know much longer I can do this, man. My voice hurts, I'm thirsty, we're out of water, the muffins they laid out at the top of the day are dry and old. I feel dry and I feel old. I give up. I give up. What's the point of this?
Okay.
I mean, what's the point of anything?
Right.
I'm broken. Broken. I have changed. I am broken and I have changed. Thanks to you, Arnie. Thanks to you, man.
Okay, well, this guy is definitely going through some issues right now. Not sure what exactly those are, because, you know, I didn't show up to this until just recently, but yeah, poor guy, poor Arnie. Flower Power gifted 1 Oxhorn membership to the community. Thank you so much, Flower Power. John Bristol says maybe this is a surprise premiere of the pilot. I doubt we're going to get that. I mean, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, that'd be wonderful. I think it's more likely that we're going to be seeing a trailer, a surprise trailer, or maybe even a surprise behind the scenes. But a straight up pilot, I doubt that. But you never know. We'll see. Tota Fett says, what's up, Ox? How are you this fine day? feeling good. I've got my coffee. I'm ready to go. Wade Speakerman gifted 5 Oxhorn memberships to the community. Thank you so much, Wade, and congratulations to N. Polarizer, KYLE, Kimberly Chi, and Ryder Wheeler. We've got 1 minute and 38 seconds left.
Now it's the afternoon. Here we go. The crane is lowering. Here we go. Okay. Really close to the time where I can go and get out of here. The crane is lowering. It is happening. The tumblers are tumbling. The crane is lowering. The tumblers.
Paladin Dance's girlfriend says, ordered my plushie. Thanks for covering this. Maybe body pillow next. We'll talk. We'll see. We'll see how well this plushie sells, and then I'll decide on a body pillow.
You try filling the time. Next time we'll switch places, Arnie, and you can try it. Oh boy, here we go. Thank God we're doing it, and it's happening. I see motion. I see Vault Tech. I am convinced. Guys.
45 seconds.
It's been great. Arnie, it's been great. Arnie, it's been great. You know, I hope we are in the same vault. I'd like to spend the rest of my life with you, Arnie. As long as this happens right now, I am fine with spending the rest of my life with you.
25 seconds.
As long as the vault opens right now. The fact that nuclear fire could fall from the sky at any moment has made this broadcast that much more important. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, here we go. Okay. Up. Here we go. Here we go. This is it. Yes! It looks great.
I know that I've lived a relatively comfortable life.
Stop! Lucy!
Called it. It's the trailer.
You need to go home. Vault dwellers are an endangered species. I do not think you would be willing to do what it takes to survive up here.
Tumbleweed.
If you insist on staying, then you will have to adapt.
Tomorrow, so they say, will be a lovely day. A bright new sun will suddenly break through.
See, there looks just like Megaton.
But I don't want to see tomorrow unless I see it with you.
Whoa, is he a Cyclops?
I grabbed a moldy one.
Yeah, boy! April 12th. Lots to process there. Is that it? Is that it? I think that might be it. I think that's what we were waiting for. That's it. I don't want to see a GitLab tutorial. What? I don't need to learn GitLab. What is this? Okay, well, that was it. We got the trailer, everybody. I'm thrilled. I'm stoked. I'm thrilled. This was amazing. I didn't see anything off the top of my head. But now that it's live, we can kind of scrub through it a little bit just to see what we got here.
Comfortable life.
So that's Lucy. I love how she's...
need to go
Oh, look at that.
home.
Look at that.
You need to go.
That looked like Point Lookout. Is that Point Lookout? Well, no, this is set in Los Angeles, but I'm just looking at this town and it looks like the ruins of Point Lookout. Well, I suppose it could be any sort of seaside carnival town in Los Angeles. Does anyone know what town this is supposed to be?
Endangered species.
There's a red roach.
I do not think you would be
There's that scary
willing to
tumbleweed.
do what it takes to
She sees the tumbleweed and starts backing up. I just cracked up. Okay, so of note, so she leaves the vault. She meets a guy out here, and he tries to warn her. We've got vertibirds here, which makes sense because we stole the Enclave vertibird technology and gave it to the Brotherhood of Steel during the events of Fallout 2. So, of course, the Brotherhood is going to have vertibird technology on the West Coast. We have some crazy mutations here. Okay, so here's the vault. I mean, this is great. This looks like a vault from Vault 76, complete with the garden area and everything. Why are people freaking out?
A bright new sun will suddenly break through.
No idea what's going on in the vault. I hope we get another crazy vault tech experiment. Here we are in, well, it's called Philly. What a name for a scrap city. It's Philly and not Megaton. But there's the plane. There's the stop shop. This looks like the big, this actually looks like the big area where Takahashi is in the middle of Diamond City. This part right there.
But
there's the nameless ghoul. And I read up that, you know, they went out of their way to make him not look like the ghouls from Fallout 4. And their reasoning for that is because they felt that the makeup would have hindered the artist's performance. And that's why he doesn't really look exactly like the ghouls from Fallout 4. In Fallout 4, the ghouls have pretty much black eyes, right? We don't even see the whites of their eyes. The scarring is much more pronounced all over their face. And they said that they didn't want the makeup to hinder the artist's performance, Goggins' performance. So they limited the makeup that they did on the ghouls. That said, I totally understand that. I think, I mean, it looks like a guy wearing makeup. It doesn't, it doesn't look like a ghoul. It looks like a guy wearing makeup. Yeah, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I like the ghoul makeup that they've done. I mean, it could be worse. It's, I don't know. It's just, I don't know if I'm buying it. They needed to CGI out, and I don't know if they have or not, but they needed to CGI out the nose because it looks like all of this is built up. Like if you imagine, if you fill out where his nose was, the dude had a schnoz. before he became a ghoul, man, did that guy have a schnoz. And it makes sense because this is clearly sitting on top of his real nose. So yeah, I don't know if I'm buying it. Chininator says he thinks it looks good. Okay, well, is this dude wearing a diaper? Why is that dude wearing a diaper? All right, the nameless ghoul is just going crazy here in Philly.
with you.
And then, wow, who's this? Is that Fred Armiston?
I grabbed a moldy one.
No, I don't know. Why do we have a Cyclops? Why is there a Cyclops? Okay, well, that was in the vault. Is he wearing a vault suit? Yeah, that dude's wearing a vault suit. Well, now we haven't had any Cyclopses, like human Cyclopses in the Fallout universe yet, but this doesn't bother me too much because this dude's wearing a vault suit. It looks like he's the administrator of a vault or maybe the overseer of a vault. It could be that some crazy vault tech experiment went on in Vault 33 over the past 200 years, leading to this guy being a Cyclops. So who knows, right? I mean, I think we can leave our minds open to the possibility of a strange mutated Cyclops guy.
I grabbed a moldy one.
Okay. There we go. The turrets that we all love. Now, this please remain calm thing is new. No Mark version of the turrets that we know of have the TV there, but it's possible that this was a different version that was manufactured for a vault, for example, or for a military base, for urban pacification, telling people to remain calm, so it doesn't bother me too much. I'm glad we've got a dog here. I wonder if it's going to be dog meat. And of course, it's a German Shepherd. Dairy Fresh ice cream, made in the USA, vanilla. So we got a Mr. Handy pushing a vault dweller on a stretcher. I believe that was Hank, her father. Something crazy is going on, which I'm guessing caused her father to leave the vault, and then she had to go chase after him, right? I mean, because that's what happened in Fallout 3, and they might mirror that. And here's a Yaogwai. Beware the Yaogwai. Just tearing up this guy in a suit of power. What is that? Is this a lizard with fingers? Are those fingers in his mouth? Ow! Is that something from the Fallout universe that I don't remember? I mean, it could be, God, what? Wow, they are fingers. Ew, what? This is disgusting. They are fingers complete with fingernails. Oh, that's awful. The chat is saying that it's an oxalot, a gulper, a gecko, maybe. But with fingers, that's hideous and awful. Again, even though we haven't seen it, no reason it can't exist. I mean, every unique pocket of the Fallout universe has something crazy in it. Just remember what happened during the Lonesome Road DLC and how many unique and weird creatures we discovered there that haven't shown up anywhere else in the Fallout universe. So, okay, she's got a shard of wire stuck in her eye, and she just runs out with a machine gun and starts shooting. Oh, I can't wait to learn what experiment went on in Vault 33. What god-awful thing happened in Vault 33 to cause everyone in the vault to just freak out and start killing each other. I love it. All right, there's the Caswanon. The Caswanon. It's not the Pridwin. It might look like the Pridwin, but it's not the Pridwin. That is the Caswanon. And we're on a Brotherhood of Steel military base. This is a hangar. We've got the bottom ends of bombs, it looks like, as if they were trying to assemble nukes. And then, of course, a bunch of vertibirds taking off. And I'm not going to cover it again. I already expressed my concern about the Pridwin clone already. I'm going to do it again. Ryder Wheeler says, the fact that it's set in the LA Boneyard is weird to me. At least hoping the vault is outside of the Boneyard and it looks nice. Yeah, the show says that it takes place in the greater Los Angeles area. Will they be talking about the Boneyard? Now, we have to remember that this is set in 2219. And the events of Fallout 1, wherein we explore the LA Boneyard, happened in like 21... God, I don't even remember the date. 21, 23, something like that. So it's been over 100 years or so since we explored the LA Boneyard during the events of Fallout 1, and the LA Boneyard was absorbed by NCR. It's completely possible that over those 100 years, NCR built up LA. And it's no longer the Boneyard, and it's now actually a place where people can live. But one thing I haven't seen at all so far in this trailer is, again, any mention of the NCR. this is amazing. This is beautiful. So this is clearly the day the bombs dropped in 2077. We've got the vault dweller, Hank, on this horse with... Or no, it must be Hank's ancestor. This must be the ancestor of... Okay, I'm making up the story in my head, but I think what this is the ancestor of Lucy and Hank trying to get to the vault as the bombs are dropping in what must presumably be... Is this Los Angeles? Is this what Los Angeles looks like in the Fallout universe? Here we have the Prepare for the Future billboard. Love seeing that. I don't recognize the skyline. I have been to Los Angeles twice. I don't know, but this scene, watching the bombs just drop, is amazing. I see. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? It turned out so great. All right, now, when I made my video, people were saying that there was a reference to the NCR inside the vault. So let's see if we can see any reference to the NCR.
I know
whatsoever.
that I've lived a relatively comfortable life.
Stop! Lucy!
All right, so why does she leave the vault? She's got to go find her father. I'm guessing that's going to be the premise there, just like it was in Fallout 3. And yeah, I don't... is there any more scenes inside the vault? Just the guy, the Cyclops guy. Let's see if we can find any reference to the end. Oh, wait, here we go.
Be a lovely day.
Yeah, I'm not seeing anything.
A bright new sun will suddenly break.
There were a lot of papers on the Cyclops' desk. Let's see if we can find any notes about the NCR there. Oh, yuck. Just spitting out his coffee.
I grabbed a moldy one.
Okay, well, there we go. It's now live for everyone to enjoy. You all can scrub through it at your leisure. I don't know if I'm going to make another video talking about this. Mainly because this didn't really concern me. I'd have to really think about, sit down and spend time thinking about it. Sure, there are differences. There are plenty of differences, and I could make a video just highlighting all of the differences. I don't know if that's interesting to me. I don't know if I want to make a video like that. All this did is excite me. This made me really happy. So maybe I should focus on that. Alicia C says maybe she's high on chems and she's seeing him as a Cyclops. Could be. Maybe he's not a real Cyclops. John Bristol says he's sitting in front of the Overseer's window. He is the Overseer. Yeah, the guy that they were talking to, the Cyclops, that's the Overseer. Not Nick Skinner says, hi, Ox, are you going to do a reaction/recap show for this? Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking about. I'm not sure. I don't really know if I want to just go through frame by frame and talk about absolutely everything that we see in here. I'd have to sit down and take a look at it again and see if there was anything that I thought was worthy of commentary. But honestly, nothing really stood out to me as a big flaw. Thomas McCormick says there were NCR flags in leaked set photos. Set photos. Okay, that's good to know. Cloud Biggs says it appears that the airship is part of the pre-war segment of the trailer. What? That wouldn't make any sense. The pre-war segment of the trailer? What? Why? Are you well, no, okay, so are you suggesting that the pre-war military had a blimp? Had a Zeppelin? All right, fine. Why would it look exactly like the Prydwen, which was designed and produced 200 years after the war? I don't know. I don't think it would, right? Because then we would have to say that the Brotherhood of Steel not only had all of the scrap and salvage from the mobile base crawler in Broken Steel DLC, but they had to have stumbled upon some pre-war blueprints of the Zeppelins and airships that were used by now the pre-war military, and then managed to find all of the components necessary to build it from the ruins of the mobile base crawler. So a lot would have to go on for that to actually work. I don't think that was a pre-war segment. I think that was supposed to depict the Brotherhood. John Bristol says, not a fan of some of the tropey gimmicks in the trailer, like at the end where it gets real loud, suddenly goes quiet, then soft music plays as the title fades in from the black background. So you're not a fan of trailers. You don't like trailers? Okay. Pardon me. I mean, that's what people do in trailers. That's how trailers are made. Okay, did I see anything groundbreaking and original within the pacing and the editing of that trailer? No, I didn't. But I'm not going to worry too much about the artistic creativity when it comes to the pacing of a trailer, and instead I'm going to be focusing on the content. God. Pardon me. Wow. I'm just getting hit. Come on, I'm trying to talk here. Oh, man. That didn't bother me too much. Chef Breccia says, I don't know if I'm going to make another video talking about it. You're making one right now. Yeah, hence why I used the word another, as in other than this one. Steel 101 says, they always pick great music for Fallout. Awesome. I know, I'm excited. They always do. Whenever they play it, whenever it pops up, it just gets my goosebumps going. Rachel says, you should do some shorts on the Boneyard. Yeah, that's a great idea. Some shorts on the Boneyard to get people reacquainted with the lore of the LA Boneyard in preparation for the show. That's great. Derek May says, Goggins is a ghoul from the Lonesome Road. Bless you. Thank you, Derek May. I don't know, just had a sneezing fit right there. Omega Volwin says, when I think of the Western Brotherhood of Steel, I think of T-51 power armor, not T-60. Also, the chances that the Eastern Brotherhood of Steel took over the West, and that explains the airship? Yes. Again, we covered this during my show on Thursday. Sure, there are an unlimited number of explanations that we could invent to explain why the Brotherhood on the West Coast looks and acts the way it does. But they would all require a substantial re-understanding of the lore as we know it. For example, in your situation, if the Brotherhood of Steel on the East Coast under Arthur Maxson took over the Brotherhood of Steel on the West Coast, it would mean that the Brotherhood of Steel were the ones who canonically won during the events of Fallout 4, which is something I don't think that anyone at Bethesda is going to want to do. But okay, that would have to be done. Then, for some reason, even though they were the complete dominant power on the East Coast and needed time to assert dominance over that seaboard and get all of the technology, even though they still had to do that, they were then going to move back to the West Coast where the Brotherhood already was. Why? Because the Brotherhood's already there? I mean, they would have to give us a reason. Why would Arthur Maxson and his victorious Brotherhood just abandon the East Coast after winning it? Well, they'd have to tell it. They'd have to explain it to us, right? So there are just a lot of things that, it just makes things more complicated. When you got to invent a lot of different things like this, it just makes things much more complicated. Now, as for the T-51, yeah. But however, Fallout 3 already established that T-51 and the advanced power armors were not the only power armors in the universe, and that we needed to open up the possibility that more power armors could exist. How they existed, where they came from, wasn't exactly told to us. 1 second. By the time of the events of Fallout 3, the Brotherhood was clearly using the T-45 suit of power armor because that's what Lion's chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel was equipped with when they made their trek. Then during the events of Fallout New Vegas, we see the Brotherhood of Steel in a variety of suits of power armor, including the T-51, but also the T-45. During the ending slides of Fallout New Vegas, if you leave the Brotherhood of Steel alone and you create a peace between the Brotherhood and the NCR, the Brotherhood patrols the roads in suits of T-45 power armor. So if they went from T-51 to T-45, which is not necessarily better than T-51, but might be more readily available, then once the Brotherhood decided to advance from T-45 to T-60, perhaps the ones on the West Coast did as well. Cloud Big says the ship was definitely in the part where they were showing up the moments leading up to the Great War. I don't know the lore implications of that. So we can't think about chronology in a trailer like this because they were showing us moments throughout the show just to give us a taste of the show. This trailer isn't giving us like just because they show a picture of a Zeppelin and then cut to a scene of bombs dropping doesn't mean that the Zeppelin shows up in the show chronologically before the bombs drop. We can't make that assumption. Lazarus of Death says, you missed my super chat about the NCR. Okay, Lazarus, I'm going to scroll up as far as I can, and I don't see anything. I'm sorry, Lazarus of Death, I don't see anything about the NCR. I'll have to check it out after the broadcast. Christopher Estrada says, wasn't the Pridwin having mechanical issues? Maybe it had to be rebuilt along with the new name mirroring the old? No. So, Procter Ingram had to keep the Pridwin afloat. And yeah, you're right. If you take a look at the terminals aboard the Pridwin during the events of Fallout 4, she did talk about how the reactor was having some problems. And this was hearkening back to how Madison Lee was the one who created the reactor, well, repaired the reactor. She was an expert on nuclear reactors and got the reactor working for Rivet City. And the Brotherhood of Steel, not being experts on reactors, ripped this one out of Rivet City, plugged it in Pridwin, and expected it to work. And of course, it's not working to, as expected, which is why Procter Ingram was talking about all of the different problems that they were having. So yeah, they were having some mechanical issues with the Pridwin. It could be that it had to be rebuilt, but that would entail hauling all of the scrap, hauling the Pridwin all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast and rebuilding it there. Like, at that point, you might as well just build another one. Again, this is one of the situations where we can always invent a story to explain something that we see here, but that would require us fundamentally understanding what we already know differently, right? Like, we would have to retcon what we already know in order to make this new story work. Hunt with Drones says, dog meat isn't a German Shepherd. He's a Belgian Malinos. Okay, well, I think he is a German Shepherd, but you know what? I don't know a lot about dogs, so I'll take your word for it. That was Hunt with Drones' first super chat. Thank you so much. Kenneth Butler says, how much do you think the plot will stick to the game's story? Or will the show be more of its own thing? I'm curious and hoping it's the former. So the show is not retelling any of the stories from the Fallout universe. It's not retelling Fallout 3. It's not retelling Fallout 4. It's telling its own new story set in 2219 in Los Angeles. Involving a vault dweller named Lucy, a ghoul named the Ghoul, and then a Brotherhood of Steel soldier named Maximus. Because, of course, his name is Maximus. So it's going to be a completely brand new story, but it will be canonical, which means that these events did happen within the greater canon of the Fallout universe, and all of that came from Todd Howard. Steel 101 says, even if the Brotherhood of Steel doesn't have the canon ending to Fallout 4, they still have a lot of power. It feels like Arthur would be crazy enough to attack the NCR. If they don't win in the Fallout 4, the alternative is they were destroyed. There's only one option where they still live, and that's if the Minutemen destroy the Institute before the Brotherhood can get to them, and the Minutemen decide to spare the Brotherhood and don't make war upon the Brotherhood. In that ending, all that happens is we go to the Pridwin, and Maxon is standing at the bridge saying, don't talk to me. I've got a lot to think about. And that's the end of the Brotherhood of Steel. That's the only ending where they live and they don't take over the entire eastern seaboard, right? Maybe that's the ending. That's the canonical ending, and they decided to just fly to Los Angeles for some reason instead of continuing to explore the eastern seaboard and getting technology, which was ultimately their mission to begin with. Again, it would mean raising more questions that they would then have to answer. Why did the West Coast brothers suddenly decide to change the Eastern chapter's mission, which was to explore for technology on the East Coast, and have them all come home? Maybe it wasn't up to them. Maybe it was up to Arthur Maxon. Maybe he just rebelled. Why would he rebel against the Western Brotherhood? That would be completely against his character, right? Like, it would just make things way more complicated. Especially since the showrunners already told us that it's not the Pridwin, it's the Caswanon. So it's a completely different airship. It's not the Pridwin. It's not Arthur Maxon's Pridwin. We don't need to come up with a scenario that explains why the Brotherhood are in Los Angeles that came from the East Coast. That is to say, the Brotherhood that are in Los Angeles were born and raised there. They are not the East Coast chapter that came to the West Coast. None of that is true. According to the show, it's a different airship called the Caswanon, and it's the West Coast Brotherhood, not the East Coast Brotherhood, okay? So we have to come to terms with that, and we now have to wait for the showrunners to explain to us how that is possible. It's easier to explain that than it is to explain why Arthur Maxon would drag the East Coast chapter of the Brotherhood to the West Coast. Okay, James17 with a sticker tip. Thank you so much, James17. Rachel says, I want more vaults. Just a whole mini series of vaults. Were all the shots from the trailer from the same vault? We don't know. We know the shots at the very beginning were from Vault 33 because Lucy was leaving it. Then there were a few shots of the Overseer, but the shots of the Vault Dwellers going crazy and killing each other? Yeah, I don't think we know if they were from Vault 33. I guess I'd have to go back and rewatch it and take a look at the vault suits to see what numbers I could find on the back of them. Tank Dempsey says, I feel like the end of the show might tease the next Fallout game. I don't know. Big fan, Oxhorn. Thank you, Tank Dempsey. I doubt that they're teasing any Fallout game with this trailer. Instead, I think they're teasing the show. I think they're just showing us some of the sights we're going to see in the show. But interesting thought. Storybook Rhyme with a super tip. Thank you so much, Storybook Rhyme. Mitchell Shelton says, hey, did you see that Wizards of the Coast are making a Fallout Magic cards? Dog meat looks cute. I didn't see that. You know, I never have been big on Magic the Gathering, the card game. But cool that they're making a Fallout spin-off. Human Neuron says, am I blind or has there been no mention of the NCR? You're not blind. We've been talking about that a bit today. I haven't seen any mention of the NCR, and we certainly didn't see any in the trailer. The chat is telling me that during some released photographs from on the set that there were some references to the NCR. And so I'm hoping that that's the case, and I'm hoping that they do cover the NCR during the show. John Bristol says, wasn't trying to be a critic, still like the trailer overall. I just prefer studios break out of the mold and get more original. It's okay to be a critic. So my philosophy on criticism is that criticism is really healthy and it's really important, and we need criticism because criticism can make art better. But the flip side of the coin is ultra criticism, where you're being critical for the sake of being critical. You're not being critical because the art demands it. You're being critical because you want to find something to be critical about, and you take pleasure in being critical, or you're just having a negative and pessimistic attitude towards something that doesn't really deserve the criticism. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just highlighting the fact that there are many people who are just overly critical about things for the sake of it, just because being critical is the part that gives them pleasure. That's where they derive joy, is just being critical of other things. Now, criticism, as I said, it is really important, and we need it because it improves art and it helps us mature our tastes and develop a greater appreciation for fine art. But the flip side to the coin is that sometimes people get carried away and overdo it. In terms of the artistic style of this trailer was designed to appeal to a certain demographic, to appeal to people who watch trailers in 2023. It's certainly not groundbreaking, the editing of this trailer and the piecing together of the trailer, but it didn't really rub me the wrong way either. The purpose of the trailer is to sell the show. The show is what's going to be filled with artistic brilliance and artistic genius, and that's really what's going to deserve criticism. I don't know a lot of film critics who criticize trailers first, but you know what, John Bristol? Maybe there's a niche for that, and you could fill. The Magic Q says, "Good morning, Oxhorn, and everyone. I bought your plushie the moment you tweeted. That's right. I posted it on X, and I guess that was an excretion then. I'm excited to see it. By the way, if you're wondering, it's me, Quintayus. I changed my name to match my YouTube streaming channel. Quintayus, good to see you, now known as the Magic Q. Thank you, the Magic Q. Mark from Sales says, I'm actually more excited now. Make it a news story and have fun. The East Coast is far enough away for the West Coast to be isolated post-war, in my opinion. I'm excited too. This trailer made me feel a lot better about the show. It didn't answer all of my questions, but I like the tone. You know what would have really bothered me is if this trailer made it seem like a thriller or like a detective show or like some sort of big drama, right? Or if it was just a big action, blow up show, right? It wasn't that. It had action. It had moments of suspense, but it had humor as well. During the trailer, there were people in the chat who expressed some concern that it might be a comedy. And I guess their concern is that it might be going too far in the direction of comedy. And I suppose that's possible. That's a legitimate concern. I definitely don't want it to be slapstick, and I don't want it to just be so rife with jokes that we miss the point. But I don't have any indication that that's the case. I don't get that vibe from the trailer. There were a few moments of levity and a couple of moments that we laughed at, but I didn't see anything that made it seem as if they were taking the Fallout series lightly. What I really want to make sure that the show has is that it's got a little bit of sarcasm. It's got that tongue-in-cheek aspect of the Fallout games that we've all fallen in love with, right? And they talked about that in the Vanity Fair article as well. Todd Howard said that he wanted to make sure that whatever showrunners were going to be making a show version of the Fallout show, that they were going to understand the comedy. They had to understand the violence, they had to understand the world building, and they had to understand the comedy. The comedy's been there from the very beginning in Fallout 1, right? All the way through Bethesda's Fallouts as well. So making sure that they nail that voice, that unique Fallout voice, is going to be really, it's an important thing for them to master. And from the trailer, I'm cautiously optimistic. Like, I didn't see anything that really stood out as being egregious. The Cyclops guy, a little bit maybe. The Cyclops guy kind of sounded a little bit like an SNL skit, but it was brief and it wasn't that bad, and it took place in a vault, which definitely has room for explanation. So yeah, it didn't feel too bad to me. Derek May says, so there is no canon ending for New Vegas or 4? No, there is no canon ending for New Vegas or 4. That's intentional because the showrunners don't want to rob you of your creative storytelling power, which is something that the developers of Fallout 2 did when they released a strategy guide that contained the canonical ending to Fallout 1, which is something they regretted doing later, right? They released a guide with Fallout 2 that said, oh yeah, and by the way, in Fallout 1, Dogmeat dies in the Mariposa military base, and the the Vault Dweller was a man and not a woman. They basically gave us a canonical ending to Fallout 1 so that they could build the story of Fallout 2, and they later regretted that, saying that they felt like they robbed the player of player agency. So whenever the game developers reference the previous games, they try their best to be as vague as possible to make room for all of the storytelling you do, because it is ultimately an RPG game that you're playing. Now, there are certain circumstances where they just have to make a decision. For example, there is a canonical ending to Fallout 3, but the thing about Fallout 3, which made it easier for Bethesda to make a canonical ending to it, is that ultimately your choices didn't matter in that game. Which is probably not necessarily a good thing. I mean, certainly compared to Fallout New Vegas, where your choices did matter, but in Fallout 3, there's really only one ending. There's the Brotherhood of Steel wins, or you fail the game, right? There's no Enclave wins. There's that option. Even when you side with President Eden, at the end of Fallout 3, the Enclave still loses. so there's really only one ending to Fallout 3, so having that be canonical, all right, that did make sense. End True Love says, love hearing your take on the trailer. Excited. Thank you, End True Love. Omega Volwin says, Robert House flashback would be cool. Having more references to Fallout New Vegas would indeed be cool. I'd love to learn what's been going on in the Mojave. But again, they're probably not going to have very many of them because they don't want to set in stone a canonical ending to the events of Fallout New Vegas. Right? I mean, if they switch to a broadcast where Robert House is giving a big lecture, then the end to Fallout New Vegas is that Robert House lives and he doesn't die, and that robs the player of some of his or her agency. I'm not saying that that's not what they're going to do. They very well could inadvertently give us a canonical ending to some of these games, or remove some of the possible endings that we could get. But I'm just hoping they don't do that, and they've been cautious to avoid doing that. Bethesda has in their subsequent Fallout games. Mando Coolcat says, in the 2004 game Fallout Brotherhood of Steel, the West Coast Brotherhood of Steel had sent a whole fleet of airships to Chicago. Could it be one of those? So, Mando Coolcat, Fallout Tactics is the game that you're talking about. I covered it in depth in my series, The Full Story of Fallout Tactics, which is available on my channel. Yes, the Brotherhood of Steel did indeed have a bunch of airships. All of those airships crash landed in Chicago, and we saw those airships during the events of Fallout Tactics. If you compare the images of the airships in Tactics to the image that we see, they're very different. Now, that's not necessarily a big deal, because it's an older game, and it had a different art style, and it's possible that all of the airships that they sent really did look exactly like that one. But my issue, and this is what I raised in the video that I published, is that the Prydwen was a unique vehicle with an established backstory. They explained to us how it was created, why it was created, where the materials came from. Like, we know so much about the construction of the Prydwen. They had to tell us where it came from because it flew in from the Capital Wastelands, and we were there 10 years ago, and there was no blimp there. So they took great pains to explain to us how the blimp was constructed, and it was constructed from the remains of the mobile base crawler, which means that it could only have been constructed from whatever was in the mobile base crawler, which means they had to tailor a unique blueprint that would accommodate only for components that were found within the mobile base crawler, which limited the style and design of the blimp, right? So to find a blimp that looks exactly like the Prydwen 2,000 miles away on the opposite coast is concerning and needs to be explained, right? That's all I was saying. But Mando Coolcat, to answer your question, no, it couldn't be any of the blimps from Fallout Tactics, because all of those blimps crash landed in Chicago. None of them survived. Which explains why, in subsequent expeditions, they didn't use blimps. Lion's Brotherhood of Steel that left the West Coast and made the trek all the way to the East Coast went on foot. They didn't use blimps. You'd think if they had any left over from the expedition during Tactics, they would have used them, but they didn't. So they were out. Daniela Spencer says, did they consult any gamers or Fallout lore experts like you, Ox, when plotting out this show for it to make sense canonically? They didn't. Not that they needed to. They did, after all, consult the writers of Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 and Fallout 76. The people who invented those stories. So, guys like me are really good at absorbing information, organizing information, retelling stories. I enjoy telling my own stories as well, but when it comes to my Fallout channel, I feel like I'm more of an archivist, really, or a historian, really, because I'm not telling news stories. I'm organizing the information that is presented within Fallout lore and organizing it and presenting it in a way that is easily consumable, right? So I don't. Of course, it would have been great if they had come to me and talked with me, but I don't think they need to, because they're talking to the people who wrote the stories. So, G-Man says, "What if the article misunderstood some things and or got stuff wrong, lore/story wise, and maybe the NCR wasn't shown because of potential story spoilers?" Yeah, that's totally possible. That's actually one of the things that I talked about during my show on Thursday. It's possible that the article was written by somebody at Vanity Fair, not somebody who actually worked on the show. The Vanity Fair journalist just interviewed a couple of the people who worked on the show and Nolan, who directed it, and then they had to take the information about the show and translate it to an audience who is just there to learn about a new Amazon TV show, right? So we're getting information about a television show that gamers would love, being understood by someone who's never played the game and being written for people who have never played the game, right? So it's very possible that the article itself didn't understand the point of the Brotherhood. That the journalist who wrote it didn't understand the Brotherhood was a technology cult, and therefore that didn't show up in their article. But the people who made the show do understand that the Brotherhood is a technology cult, and just that information wasn't passed along to the journalist. That's totally possible, and I'm hoping that's the case. I'm hoping that when we get to the show, yeah, the Brotherhood's a technology cult, the NCR is still there, and, there was just a miscommunication when it came to writing the article. Corvus Korak says, I get the impression that whenever Bethesda sets lore for a new game, they don't bother checking the past games and just retcon whatever they want. That's certainly an impression many people have, but I don't think people are giving Bethesda enough credit, because a lot of thought and attention goes into people, places, and characters before they create them. For example, Madison Lee, when they brought her back for Fallout 4, they took great pains to talk about to make sure that they just didn't retcon some backstory for her, like say that Madison Lee has always been in the Institute or something like that, which would have been easier. No, they took great pains to explain how she came from the Capital Wastelands to Boston. Even during the events of Fallout 3, she leaves Project Purity and starts walking north to the Commonwealth. If you go and talk to Scribe Bigsley, there's a guy back there, you can say, hey, where's Madison Lee? And they're like, oh, yes, she left. She went to this place called the Commonwealth. And that was during the events of Fallout 3, which was hilarious. So, they and then they could have just made things easier for themselves and, had Madison Lee there as an Institute scientist who was just really good with nuclear reactors, and that's why the Brotherhood needed her. But no, they wrote out all of these dialogue lines, and they had the actress record all of these lines talking about her personal story, which they put a great emphasis and detail into. And, explaining how the Prydwen came to be, tying it into the mobile base crawler. That took a lot of attention to detail. Are they perfect? No. Obviously, they make mistakes. Do they retcon some things? Sure. Having the advanced power armor now being X01, it's a bit of a retcon there, the whole jet debacle. But by and large, Bethesda does try to take a great deal of care with the lore of their universe. Andy M says, I think we need to petition Bethesda to have Ox voice a new DJ in either 76 or the future Fallout 5. You are the Fallout guru. I am just one of the Fallout Uber fans out there. There are plenty of us who love this franchise. Holly Phelps says, "Hey, Ox, I think the ghoul is the pre-war horse guy." Oh. That's an interesting thought. Well, yeah, the article did say that he was hundreds of years old, so he could be a pre-war ghoul. John Bristol says, "Sarcastic remarks about me being a trailer critic aside, I get what you're saying. It's made to advertise as much information as possible in a short period of time, which means streamlined, faster cuts." Yeah, I think that was definitely the intention behind the trailer. Synthetic Cat says the Cyclops is Chris Parnell from SNL. Oh, I thought I recognized him. Chris Parnell. That's why I said it sounded like an SNL skit. I didn't realize that until you actually said the name. Yeah, that is Chris Parnell, isn't it? Wow. That's great. Steel 101 says, "Talking about Fallout lore is so much fun. I love it." I know. This is why I can geek into it. I can get passionate about something that doesn't really have any real world ramifications. It's just Fallout lore. It's great. Ward Roberts says, "Hey, Oxhorn, just dusted off Fallout 4 to play some more mods, and guess what? You're in it now. I downloaded it from Nexus, lol. It's awesome. Did you voice record some lines, or did they just piece it together?" Yeah, they just pieced it together from my videos. They just took audio samples from my videos and made this character companion. They didn't ask for permission, but it doesn't bother me. If people want to have a companion of me with my voice lines from my videos in their Fallout 4, that's great. Julian Z says, "Oh my God, Ox, surprise stream, good morning. Catching up at 2x speed." Thank you, Julian Z. I'm going to be ending it soon because we've already gone over the trailer. I'm just trying to get through all of your questions. You guys have a lot to say. Dr. Wasabi says, "One of the buildings in the pre-war section at the end looked very similar to the Vault-Tec building shown in the Fallout 1 or 2 beginning slides." Yeah, I can't place it. I mean, I'd have to look at the Fallout 1 and 2 beginning slides to be able to place it. But yeah, that's the skyline of Los Angeles, looks like, in the Fallout universe. And then so you're thinking that's the ghoul over here, the guy on the horse? Maybe. That would be really interesting. The New Guy 95, a member for 4 months. Thank you so much, the New Guy 95. Hunter 05 says, "Hello, Ox. What is the timeline of the show? It's possible that we may see characters from the games or even the protagonists. If so, who can we expect?" All right, the timeline of the show is that it takes place in 2219. That's 9 years after the events of Fallout 4. 9 years is certainly enough time for anyone on the West or the East Coast to travel to the West Coast. But I think it's going to be highly unlikely that we'll see anyone from Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 in the television show. It's possible we could see someone from New Vegas, right? From Fallout New Vegas. Because the Mojave is just a hop, skip, and a jump away from California, from Los Angeles. So anyone in New Vegas is fair game. That said, if they do give us cameos of people from Fallout 1, Fallout 2, or New Vegas, they're going to have to be really, really careful because some of these characters are tied to the canonical endings of Fallout New Vegas. And they're probably going to want to avoid giving a canonical ending to New Vegas. You know who I think we're going to see? Marcus. That's just a guess. I have no idea. You know, we haven't seen any super mutants at all. Is that something we need to be concerned about? We haven't seen any super mutants at all in any of the release screenshots or the trailers. So what happened to all the super mutants? What happened to Marcus? What happened to the remnants of the Master's army? Did the NCR do a really good job of just eradicating them all and they're completely gone? I don't know. That's another thing. I didn't mention that in my video that I published on Thursday, but we haven't seen any super mutants. But wouldn't it be great if we could see Marcus again? Because he showed up in Fallout 2. He showed up in Fallout New Vegas. I'd love to see him as a cameo in the show. The new guy says, during the trailer, it says Vault 33 on the wall during the Dweller freakout. Oh, did it? So that was Vault 33. What happened? I can't wait to find out. Rachel says, who was leading the West Coast Brotherhood of Steel at this time? We don't know, because the West Coast Brotherhood operates very differently from the East Coast. The East Coast has always had a single leader, which makes it an authoritarian dictatorship. And that's probably due to the nature of the expedition. The expedition had to have one leader, and then when they established power on the East Coast, they had one elder. It happened when Lyons did his trek to the East Coast, and it happened when Night Shin and Paladin Romani came during the events of Fallout 76 as well. But the West Coast chapter of the Brotherhood has been very different. There are many elders. There's no one elder. Even Elder Maxon during the events of Fallout 1 was only one of many elders. He didn't have ultimate and complete power over the Brotherhood. He had to convince the other elders to allow him to send soldiers with the Vault Dweller to the Mariposa military base to help him out, right? So, according to Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, it's a council of elders that controls the West Coast chapter. And even in the subsequent Bethesda Fallouts, whenever they refer to the West Coast, they always refer to the West Coast elders in plural. So I think that they've kept that. I think they've kept the idea that the West Coast elders are a council of elders. How will that translate to the show? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Lazarus of Death says, do you think Cyclops is overseer for Vault City? Oh, I see. So you're suggesting that Lucy traveled to Vault City. Maybe. But why would he be a Cyclops, right? The entire premise of Vault City is that they used their device to their Gek. They used a Gek to reinvigorate the wasteland. And the Gek basically gives them unlimited food and water and allowed them to turn a desert into a habitable place. If that were the case, why would he be a Cyclops? I don't know. I get the impression that that was some sort of Vault-Tec experiment that gone wrong, and not someone from Vault City. But it could be. Lauren's Corner says the Fallout TV people are currently being interviewed at CCXP 23 in Brazil live. Oh. I don't even know if I could find that. Let's see. That's 2016 CCXP. I'm hesitant to... Oh. No, this is Zack Snyder and Zack and Deborah Snyder, Rebel Moon. All right, maybe I just can't find it. Anyway, I think I've covered enough for now, but thank you so much, Lauren's Corner. Prime Aether says, I'm super curious if they will add synths to the show because A, it's being directed by the director of Westworld, and B, since it's a major plot for Fallout 4. If they do, I'm going to be disappointed. Because the point of the synth is that it gives the Institute control over Boston, right? They use the synth to pacify Boston so they can use Boston as a petri dish for their experiments, and so that they can salvage technology from Boston, and so they can tap into Boston's power grid. There's no reasonable explanation for them to send synths to the West Coast. Now, if a synth does show up, the only way that I'll allow it, the only way that I'll say it's okay, is if it's like ruined synthetic technology that was brought from the East Coast to the West Coast, or if maybe there was a synth that went rogue, right? Maybe an early model synth that went crazy, or something like that. It could be that a synth shows up that had his mind wiped by the railroad. That would make sense. That'd be perfect. But for the Institute to actually send synths to the East Coast wouldn't make sense. If we do see synths, I think it would make much more sense sense for them to be there accidentally or naturally. Like they didn't realize they were synths. They migrated to the West Coast from the East Coast. Or maybe we had a group of synths that had been released by or rescued by the railroad who chose to keep their identity and remember that they were synths, and they decided to become a community on the West Coast. That might work. Andrew Tarnawiz says, so what about the ending where all of the factions get along and the Institute is destroyed? What if that is to be canon? Well, it would really disappoint all of the people who decided to destroy all of the other factions, right? I understand that there are many people who prefer that particular ending, but there are a great deal of other people who really want to kill the Brotherhood. They don't care about the big peace ending. They hate the railroad. They want to destroy the railroad. And if you make any canonical ending, if you make the ending to Fallout 4 canonical, you overwrite any story that anyone has written in their game, which isn't necessarily the end of the world for maintaining a cohesive world and universe that you're trying to tell a story in, but it's something that the developers go out of their way to try to avoid. And I think they'll avoid doing that in the show as well. Wargamer2199 says, correction, Ox 2296. What are you correcting? When the show is set? I mean, I don't know exactly, but I do know that the article I read, the Vanity Fair article, said that it takes place 219 years after the apocalypse. So according to that article, it would be in 22... No, you're right. Yeah, I did my math wrong, didn't I? I said 2219. No, you're right. It would be 2296. Okay, thank you for that one, War Gamer. Rachel says, Mysterious Stranger. I hope so. Wouldn't that be great? If we could see the Mysterious Stranger, yeah. Derek May says, it's the year 2296, Ox. Lol. Yeah, I got my numbers mixed up. It's 219 years after the apocalypse. It's not in the year 2219. It's 2296 because the apocalypse happened in 2077. I got to stop. It's too early on a Saturday for me to be doing mental math. I don't want to be doing this anymore. John Bristol says, one way to explain the airship looking like the Pridwin is that the Pridwin wasn't made out of actual pieces of the mobile base crawler. The metal was simply melted down and reshaped. Think about it. The Pridwin's a cylinder, but the crawler is a box. So the mobile base crawler is more than just scrap metal. It was full of technology as well. And for the Brotherhood of Steel to create a battleship, they're going to need more than just sheet metal, right? They're going to need all of the bits and pieces that get a mobile base crawler running, all of its navigational components, all of its motors and servos. So there's a lot more that goes into that structure than just metal, right? If it were just metal, then yeah, it could be melted down and reshaped as necessary. But they didn't just take the metal and leave the rest. They salvaged everything, including all of the high-tech components from the mobile base crawler. Stephen Chauza says, the town looked a little like Diamond City more than Megaton to me. That spire in the middle, that sort of junk spire in the middle, did have a bit of a Diamond City vibe to it. Yeah, that's true. Stephen Chauza says, except for New Vegas, they're going to pick a canon ending for sure. Not for sure, because this game takes place in Los Angeles, not Vegas. It's possible that they will. I hope they don't, but it's possible they will. Prime Ether says, wanted to finish off by saying, if they do add synths, then we would know what ending is canon. And do you think this may end up being a push towards the next Fallout, even though it's years away? We do know that Bethesda's going to be working on Fallout 5. Will the show reference the events of Fallout 5? I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them. They definitely gave us clues to the events of Fallout 4 during Fallout 3, especially when they sent Madison Lee off north to Boston somewhere to meet a group called the Institute, right? The entire Replicated Man quest line was foreshadowing for the events that take place in Fallout 4. So Bethesda's known to do that. Will Todd Howard sneak in a little thing here? Maybe. I don't know. About the existence of synths giving us a canonical ending to Fallout 4, not necessarily, because it could be that we find a bunch of escaped synths who escaped during the events of Fallout 4, but moved to the West Coast and decided to live in Los Angeles, right? If they were never caught by the Institute, then they would not know what actually happened to the Institute because they left during the events of Fallout 4. So as far as they know, the Institute is still alive somewhere, and they can't give us a canonical ending to what happens in the Commonwealth. Cool Man Fight says, hello, Oxhorn. What if the Soul Survivor shows up on the West Coast and meets the Courier and travels with Courier 6? Well, now this is just turning into an amazing fan fiction here. That'd be great. Wouldn't that be lovely if Nate just shows up on the West Coast and has some coffee with Courier 6? Right. Well, there we go, everybody. This has been amazing. And wow, so many of you have stuck around during this impromptu Fallout TV show Q&A. I'm in my bathrobe. I need to get some sleep. I'm going to go back to bed. I didn't mean to wake up this early after publishing a lore video. But there we go. So that's what it was. It was indeed the trailer to the TV show. I don't think I'm going to make a follow-up video on it because we sort of went through it all together here during the live stream, and you had some amazing questions, and we had a really good time. And this has made me feel better about it. I don't know. I'm encouraged. I really loved everything that we saw. I loved the sense of humor that was shown off during the trailer. Yeah, I'm just excited. I'm just excited about the show. I really hope that they address some of the concerns that I raised. I just think that dealing with the NCR, it needs to be addressed. It's just one of those things that has to be talked about. Explaining why the Brotherhood is as powerful as it is, it just has to be talked about and addressed in the show. And I'm optimistic that they will do that. And the theme and the tone of the show sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are as well. I hope you enjoyed this impromptu broadcast and Q&A. Finn Garin Diaz says, alternative explanation. Airship is built by the Appalachian Brotherhood of Steel at Fort Atlas, which explains why no new Brotherhood of Steel Fallout 76 content in a while. That would make it way more complicated. Remember, Fort Atlas is part of a prequel. It takes place 26 years after the apocalypse. So, 175 years before the events of Fallout 3. Whatever happened in Appalachia was completely destroyed, right? The fact that we don't hear anything about the Appalachian chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel or anything else that happened in West Virginia. The fact that we don't hear about any of it during the events of Fallout 1, Fallout 2, Fallout 3, Fallout Tactics, Fallout 4, any of them means that whatever happened there was kept a huge secret. And the only way that happens is if people die. Is if everyone was completely wiped out. So the canonical ending to Fallout 76 is that something terrible is going to happen, which is why no one talks about it ever again. All right? Now, because it's a prequel, right? Now, so Paladin Romani and Night Shin, yes, they're active in West Virginia during the events of Fallout 76, but by the events of Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, there is no Brotherhood presence in Appalachia. Everyone is gone. That's the only possible explanation due to it being a prequel. Look, everybody, I love the questions that keep coming in. I gotta go. I'm taking today off. This is my weekend. I'm gonna go and rest and relax. Have a wonderful. John Bristol comes in with another super chat. They could have copied the hull of the Prydwen, but it's different technology that makes it run. We don't know what the navigating equipment and power plant of this new ship looks like. Just the exterior. Quite possible. I'll give you that one. Thank you, John Bristol. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Have a wonderful rest of your Saturday, and I'll see you all again very soon with more lore videos and more live streams. Bye-bye now.